Hello everyone, my name is Danielle and I'm the resident witch here at Jacobs Trading. If you're not familiar with Jacobs Trading, I strongly suggest you check our description below for more information about our company. But for today, we're going to be talking about this right here, and this is a pendulum, and we're going to be going over the basics of how to use one. So this here is my pendulum. A pendulum is basically anything heavy hanging at the bottom of a string or chain. So this one is made from a semi-precious stone unakite. I really like this stone. It's personally something that I was really drawn to, but you can find ones made of wood. I've even seen people use a washer tied to the end of a string. You're basically just looking for something heavy tied, so it will have that swinging motion. So some of you may already have a pendulum at home that you're planning on using, and that's fantastic. But for those of you who don't and are looking to buy your very first pendulum, you're really just going from what catches your eye. You really want to listen to your intuition. You can even test them out in the store, for example, just by hanging it and seeing which way it sways, which way is drawn to you. For example, some people will only pick them up, and if it swings towards them, like this way, it's an indication that that pendulum wants to go home with them. So that's just one method you can use, but really I just find whichever one catches your eye. You'll be amazed, especially if it's a semi-precious stone. If you look up the metaphysical properties after you bring it home, it's usually something you needed in that moment. So the next step that you want to take when you bring your new pendulum home is you want to make sure you cleanse it. This is really important for any metaphysical tool, especially one that you use for divination, just because you're using it to connect to your intuition. You just want to cleanse it from any negative energy or stagnant energy that was imprinted upon it before you brought it home. And this can be done in a few different ways. One of the most common ways is to use sage, so smoke clearing. Another really low maintenance way to do it is using selenite. So selenite is a self-clearing stone. So what you do is you just wrap your pendulum around the selenite stone and leave it out all night. Another way is to actually use moonlight. So you can leave your pendulum out on a windowsill and the moonlight will cleanse it overnight. If the weather's nice and you feel extra witchy, you can go outside and actually leave it in a dish outside. You can also cleanse your pendulum in moon water, so that's water that has been collected over a full moon. So there's a lot of different ways that you can cleanse your crystal, so make sure you do your research and find out which one's best for you. So your next step after your pendulum is all happy and cleansed is going to be actually programming the symbols and connecting with your pendulum. So you can do this in a couple ways. Something that I strongly recommend if you have a brand new pendulum is just place it in your hand, grasp it, and take a few moments to feel its energy. This can be done through a meditation or just simply sitting with it and making sure that your mind is prepared to work with your pendulum and really connect to its energy. The next step is going to be programming your symbols. And when I say symbols, I mean which direction it sways. So when you're working with a pendulum, you want to make sure that your index finger and your thumb are grasping just the tip there, and you want to hold it straight up. So when you're holding it straight up, you want to make sure that it's moving minimally. It's ideal to have it perfectly still, but let's face it, when you have your arm in the air, it's bound to shake a little, so it's okay, don't fuss too much. But when programming your crystal, it's whichever way it sways. So if it sways back and forth like this, what does that mean to you? If it sways up and down, what does that mean to you? Are you going to focus more on circular motion? So if it sways clockwise or counterclockwise, what does that mean to you? So these are all things that you need to think about when working with your pendulum. Another way you can do it is also by getting a mat. So what these mats do is it just kind of alleviates that burden of really paying attention to which direction your pendulum is moving at all times, because you're just waiting for it to sway in any one of these responses here. If you're creating your own symbols, I strongly recommend that you have one for no, yes, and maybe, or not right now. Mainly because a lot of times that we sit down for divination work, it's usually to get answers about something that's troubling us. Or something that we don't know about, and sometimes our own confusion can leak into this pendulum, and it's not a good time to use it. So make sure that you really sit down before every time you use your pendulum and make sure that you're in a good headspace to be doing divination. So another way that you can program your pendulum is by asking it really simple questions that you already know the answer to. So This could be things like, is my name Danielle? I want to see it move back and forth for me. And that is my symbol for yes. Is my name James? I want to see it move, my symbol for no. And these are just simple things that you can do to even warm up before any divination practice. And it's a way that you can just warm up with your pendulum and get it accustomed to your energy and see if your pendulum is working for you that day. Because like with all energy, sometimes it's not a good day and sometimes it's a really good day. So there you guys have it. That's kind of the basics of how to use a pendulum. Keep in mind that pendulums are very basic forms of divination. They only answer yes or no questions. So you wouldn't want to ask your pendulum, how is my future looking? It's not going to know what to do. This is a way to connect to your intuition and your subconscious of things your body and mind already know. It can be used to locate things as well, in finding which direction it swings. If you're walking around a room, it actually will sometimes point you in a direction, and if you follow it, you might find something that you've lost. I've seen people decide whether or not to purchase something with pendulums. They carry it around in their pockets, and if they're not sure whether or not to splurge on an item, they'll ask their pendulum in the store. So there's a lot of ways that you can use your pendulum. Some people like to just keep them in your pocket because you never know when you're going to use them. So if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. I would love to answer them. And have a great week, guys, and stay magical.